Before we talk about Jennifer Lopez, we need to understand the story. Kiss of the Spider Woman began as a 1976 novel by Argentine writer Manuel Puig. It tells the story of two prisoners in a Latin American jail. Melina, a gay window dresser imprisoned for corrupting a minor. Valentin, a political revolutionary tortured for his beliefs. They share a prison cell. To escape the brutality of their reality, Melina tells Valentin elaborate stories about glamorous old movies, particularly about a mysterious, seductive woman called the Spider Woman. That woman? Aurora. She exists as a fantasy figure, part film noir diva, part romantic ideal, part symbol of danger and seduction. The novel was adapted into a 1985 film starring William Hurt, who won an Oscar, a 1993 Broadway musical by John Kander and Fred Ebb, the legendary duo behind Chicago and Cabaret. The musical version made Aurora a singing, dancing icon of Golden Age cinema. And now, Jennifer Lopez steps into that role. The Broadway musical is important. Very important. It won multiple Tony Awards. It's considered one of Kander and Ebb's most emotionally complex works. Unlike Chicago, which is satirical and sharp, Kiss of the Spider Woman is intimate and psychological. The musical structure does something fascinating. The prison scenes are grounded, dark, and political. But the fantasy sequences, where Aurora appears, are lush, theatrical, glamorous. Big gowns, old Hollywood lighting, sweeping choreography. Aurora isn't just a character. She's escape. She's survival. She's cinema as salvation. And that's where Jennifer Lopez comes in. Jennifer Lopez has always existed at the intersection of film, music, dance, glamour, Latin identity, pop spectacle. Aurora requires all of that. She needs vocal power, physical confidence, commanding presence, star quality. But here's the twist. Aurora isn't the lead in the traditional sense. She exists in Melina's imagination. She's projection. She's longing. She's fantasy. That means Jennifer Lopez isn't just playing a character. She's playing an idea. And that's incredibly meta. Because J.Lo herself has been a projection for decades. A tabloid fantasy. A red carpet icon. A pop culture symbol of glamour and reinvention. Casting her as a cinematic illusion? That's layered casting, but there's another level here. Kiss of the Spider Woman is deeply Latin American in origin. Jennifer Lopez is one of the most globally recognized Latina entertainers in history. Her presence in this adaptation brings cultural authenticity, commercial visibility, generational crossover appeal. But it also raises expectations, because this story deals with queer identity, political oppression, dictatorship-era trauma, gender performance. It's not light material. So the question becomes, can Jennifer Lopez balance glamour with gravitas? This role requires more than sparkle. It requires emotional intelligence. You may hear it described as a musical comedy. But that label is tricky. Yes, there are humorous moments. Yes, there's theatrical exaggeration. Yes, Aurora's sequences have wit and flamboyance. But at its core, this story is about isolation, political imprisonment, sacrifice, love in unlikely places. It's not slapstick comedy. It's theatrical contrast. The fantasy sequences feel joyful precisely because the prison scenes are so stark. That tonal balance is delicate. And Jennifer Lopez's performance style, which often leans into boldness, will have to navigate that carefully. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Vocals. The Broadway role of Aurora includes powerful numbers like Where You Are, Kiss of the Spider Woman. Only in the movies. These songs require emotional nuance, theatrical phrasing, musical control. Jennifer Lopez is a pop vocalist. Broadway-style musical theater is different. Less studio polish. More character-driven delivery. But here's the upside. Film musicals allow flexibility. Vocals can be tailored. Arrangements can shift. Styles can modernize. And J.Lo has decades of performance experience. If the film leans into cinematic stylization instead of strict Broadway recreation, it could work beautifully. This story is also landmark queer storytelling. Melina's character is groundbreaking. A gay man portrayed with vulnerability, imagination, and complexity. Aurora exists partly as a symbol of romantic longing. So Jennifer Lopez's portrayal must honor that dynamic. Aurora isn't just a diva. She represents desire, escape, emotional intimacy. The chemistry between fantasy and reality will define whether this adaptation resonates. Jennifer Lopez has had an interesting acting career arc. She's done romantic comedies, crime dramas, biopics, action roles, hustlers, which earn serious critical attention. But she's rarely been part of prestige musical cinema. If Kiss of the Spider Woman succeeds, it could reposition her as a serious musical film actress, a dramatic performer in lead material, a mature star taking artistic risks. That's legacy building, not just brand maintaining. This project carries risk because the source material is beloved, because Broadway fans are protective, because queer narratives deserve care, because political undertones require sensitivity, and because Jennifer Lopez is such a recognizable personality. Audiences will need to forget J.Lo and see Aurora. That's the challenge. Can she disappear into fantasy? Or will the performance feel like Jennifer Lopez in costume? That's what critics will watch for. Imagine this visually. Golden Age Hollywood homage. Dramatic shadows. Saturated color. Art Deco glam. Choreographed dream sequences. Jennifer Lopez excels in stylized visuals. Her music videos already operate in heightened cinematic space. This role allows her to channel Rita Hayworth energy, classic film noir sensuality, Broadway theatricality, Latin cinematic heritage. Visually, this could be stunning. Kiss of the Spider Woman is ultimately about the stories we tell to survive. In prison, Melina tells movies to cope with fear. He creates beauty where there is brutality. In today's world, where political tension, identity debates, and social division remain present, that theme still resonates. Art as escape. Fantasy as resistance. Love as rebellion. That's timeless. And Jennifer Lopez, a woman who built an empire from performance, understands the power of fantasy. This isn't just Jennifer Lopez in another glamorous role. It's Jennifer Lopez stepping into a layered legacy. If done right, Kiss of the Spider Woman could be a visually stunning musical film, a meaningful queer narrative revival, a career-elevating performance, a culturally important adaptation. If mishandled, it could feel superficial. But that's what makes it compelling. It's ambitious. And ambition keeps artists evolving. To understand how pivotal this role could be for Jennifer Lopez, we have to dissect Aurora. Aurora is not a real person within the prison narrative. She exists in fantasy sequences told by Melina. But that doesn't make her shallow. In fact, it makes her symbolic. She represents the unattainable ideal, romantic obsession, danger disguised as beauty, cinema as emotional escape. In some interpretations, Aurora plays multiple archetypes: the glamorous diva, the tragic lover, the deadly seductress, the fantasy savior. So J.Lo isn't just playing one personality, she's playing projections of desire. That requires range, not just vocal range, but emotional nuance. Each fantasy sequence can't feel identical. Each appearance of Aurora must evolve depending on Melina's emotional state. If Jennifer Lopez leans into that psychological layering, this could become one of her most complex performances. Here's where Jennifer Lopez may have an undeniable advantage. Dance. She is one of the strongest dancer performers in mainstream pop culture. And Kiss of the Spider Woman relies heavily on stylized movement. Aurora isn't grounded realism, she's heightened theatricality. Fluid arms. Sharp silhouettes. Classic showgirl glamour. Film noir sensuality. If the choreography channels Fosse-inspired sharpness, Golden Age Hollywood elegance, Latin-infused rhythm, Jennifer Lopez could absolutely shine. In fact, this role may allow her to combine her Selena-era dramatic grounding with her Vegas residency theatricality and her music video precision. That combination is rare. For a project like this, Direction is everything. Because the tone has to balance camp, emotion, political seriousness, fantasy spectacle. If the fantasy sequences feel too glossy, they risk losing depth. If they feel too gritty, they lose escapism. The director must treat Aurora like a cinematic hallucination, not a pop concert cameo. Lighting will matter. Framing will matter. Costume texture will matter. And Jennifer Lopez will need to trust that vision fully. This isn't about her brand. It's about serving the story. That distinction will determine how critics respond. Let's address comparisons. Chita Rivera originated the Broadway role. Vanessa Williams later took it on. Both brought strong theatrical backgrounds. Jennifer Lopez comes from a different lane. She's not Broadway trained in the traditional sense, but she brings something else. Star aura. Aurora is meant to feel larger than life. And few contemporary performers embody that word like J.Lo. The challenge isn't matching past performers technically. It's redefining the role for a cinematic audience. Film allows intimacy, close-ups, micro-expressions. If J.Lo plays Aurora subtly in close moments, instead of going full stage projection, she could bring something new to the role. Let's talk awards potential. Musicals can be awards magnets when done well, especially when they combine strong performances, political themes, LGBTQ+ narratives, emotional depth. Jennifer Lopez was already in awards conversation for Hustlers. Many believed she was Oscar snubbed. If Kiss of the Spider Woman delivers a visually bold production, a powerful supporting cast, a restrained, emotionally intelligent performance from J.Lo, she could re-enter serious awards discussion. But here's the nuance. Aurora isn't the emotional core, Selena is. So her role might be categorized as supporting actress. And sometimes, supporting musical performances resonate strongly with voters. It depends entirely on execution. This story carries weight. It deals with queer identity, political imprisonment, torture, oppression. And it was groundbreaking in its portrayal of a gay protagonist with dignity. The film must honor that. Jennifer Lopez's role intersects with queer themes because Aurora is central to Selena's internal world. The performance must avoid caricature. It must respect the emotional truth of why this fantasy matters. In modern context, LGBTQ+ audiences are highly attuned to authenticity. If handled thoughtfully, this film could feel timely and resonant. If mishandled, it could face criticism for stylizing trauma. That's the tightrope. There's also the camp factor. The musical inherently contains melodrama and heightened theatricality. But camp can either feel intentional and layered, or unintentionally exaggerated. Jennifer Lopez has a glamorous persona that could easily tip into camp. The key will be restraint. Aurora must feel like a dream you believe in, not a parody of old Hollywood. If the film lands the emotional beats between fantasy sequences, the spectacle will feel earned. At this stage in her career, Jennifer Lopez doesn't need another hit song. She needs legacy projects. Projects that say, she took risks. Kiss of the Spider Woman is a risk. It's not a safe rom-com. It's not a dance-heavy pop concert film. It's not nostalgia-driven fluff. It's layered, political, artistic. If successful, it reframes her narrative. Not just pop icon. Not just red carpet queen. But artistic collaborator in meaningful cinema. That's evolution. If this adaptation succeeds, it could also reignite interest in stage-to-film musicals, bring classic Broadway works to Gen Z audiences, elevate Latin American source material in mainstream cinema. Jennifer Lopez's global name recognition brings commercial power. That means more visibility for a story that deserves it. It also reinforces the idea that musicals aren't outdated. They're adaptable. And when paired with modern stars, they can feel new again. Kiss of the Spider Woman is about storytelling as survival. And Jennifer Lopez has survived every entertainment era imaginable. From Fly Girl, to Selena, to pop superstardom, to tabloid scrutiny, to reinvention after reinvention. Now she steps into a role that embodies fantasy itself. Aurora, the Spider Woman, the dream in the dark. If she brings vulnerability beneath the glamour, This won't just be another musical. It will be a statement.